Did you know Jaden Smith is gay? He frequently hugged and kissed Bieber at a music festival. There are rumors that he was once with Bieber, but it has not been confirmed. However, they were indeed victims of Diddy's party. Jaden became famous for starring in The Karate Kid and collaborated with Justin Bieber to increase his popularity. As he grew up, he blurred gender boundaries and changed his style, and his social dynamics sparked heated discussions.
Back at the game with Buzzbuster, Brown versus Smith. Let's go, baby. Orlando Brown has stirred up fresh controversy by making a bold claim about Jaden Smith's private life. According to him, a hidden truth is finally coming into the open. For a long time, quiet whispers and online speculation suggested that Jaden might have been keeping part of his personal identity out of the spotlight. Back then, most people brushed those rumors aside as gossip with no real weight behind it. Now, however, some reports are making observers wonder whether there may have been more to those claims than fans originally believed. What once sounded like random chatter is beginning, at least for some people, to feel more serious. That shift has pushed many to revisit Jaden's upbringing and the unusual public dynamic surrounding the Smith family. Looking back, a lot of viewers have pointed out that Will and Jada often raised their children in ways that stood apart from what many would consider traditional.
Some people said that this was caused by Jaden's childhood experiences. In addition, he often made controversial remarks, such as calling himself a vampire. In an interview in November 2018, he hinted at a relationship with rapper Tyler, the creator, during a performance.
Because of that, some now argue that the latest speculation does not seem as surprising as it might have at first. One moment that continues to get mentioned is Will Smith's habit of showing affection toward Jaden in highly public settings, including more than one lip kiss caught on camera. Those moments played out in front of massive audiences, even on international television, and they sparked strong reactions at the time. Years later, people are still referencing those appearances as part of a broader conversation about boundaries, parenting, and the very public image of the family. As the rumors around Jaden gained momentum, plenty of fans connected them to long-running claims that have also surrounded Will Smith. In their eyes, the conversation seemed to fit into a larger pattern people had been discussing for years. That is why some online commentators began repeating the old saying about children resembling their parents, suggesting that the speculation about Jaden felt, to them, tied to the allegations that have followed Will for a long time. None of this changes the fact that much of the discussion remains rooted in rumor, interpretation, and public reaction rather than confirmed personal statements. Still, once a celebrity narrative starts building, every past headline, every public moment, and every family interaction gets pulled back into the spotlight. That is exactly what appears to be happening here, as old clips, past claims, and fresh commentary collide to create a story that many viewers now find hard to ignore.
Ever, Jaden, did you feel the pressures?
You know, yeah, I did. Once I went out into the world and I saw what people, how people feel about my parents, I didn't understand, I'm still understanding more and more every day that, they're just a staple in the world and they made people feel a type of way that no one has ever made anyone feel.
The story exploded after brother Bilal, who has been described as Will Smith's former personal assistant and a longtime friend of nearly 4 decades, appeared on Tasha K and made startling claims about Will and Jada. During that interview, Bilal suggested that Will Smith was not exactly the person Hollywood had presented to the public for years. According to Bilal, the moment happened while he was working for Will on a set. He said he opened the door to Dwayne Martin's dressing room and saw something he says he was never meant to witness. His allegation was that Will Smith and Dwayne Martin were inside together in a compromising situation. To understand why that claim caught so much attention, it helps to remember that Dwayne Martin appeared alongside Will Smith during the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air era. People close to them have also said the two shared a very strong bond over the years, which only added more fuel to the speculation once Bilal spoke out. What made the situation even more dramatic was that Bilal did not back away after making the accusation. Even after Will and Jada reportedly responded with a cease and desist in less than 9 hours, he kept talking. Rather than pulling back, Bilal pushed harder and argued that the speed of their response showed they were worried because, in his view, there was truth behind what he said.
Here, and I'm dropping evidence, period. You said I extorted you, you said it's a money shakedown, you said a lot of things about me, and you know that the things that you said were untrue. Let's get into a little bit more of it. Jada runs Will, period. Me and her at war. I'm gonna put Will to the side. Will is to the side. Me and Jada, I will say this because I know you're watching. I know Karen Tense is watching.
Will's camp strongly rejected the entire story and said it was completely made up. Jada also addressed the controversy publicly during an appearance on The Breakfast Club, where she dismissed the accusations as nothing more than an attempt to get money. According to her, Bilal was simply trying to pressure them for a payout. What reportedly started as anger over a failed business arrangement tied to Will's memoir may have opened the door to something far more explosive. Bilal claimed he was never fairly paid, and that dispute appears to have been one of the main reasons he was willing to speak out in the first place. Yet the financial issue was only part of what he was said to be alleging. Notes from the complete interview suggest he made several additional claims about Will's private life, pushing the story into much more controversial territory. Among those reported accusations was a statement involving someone named Benny Medina. Bilal allegedly said he personally saw Will kiss him on the lips. From there, the claims became even more sensational. He reportedly also alleged that Will had an addiction to adult material, specifically content involving men. The interview notes further suggest Bilal tried to connect that claim to the period when Will was getting ready for 6 Degrees of Separation, the film in which he portrayed a gay character.
Bailal, who is not only described as Will's close friend but also his former assistant, claimed he had witnessed intimate interactions involving Will and actor Dwayne Martin, including allegedly walking in on them during a private moment. Both Jada and Will strongly denied these accusations, with Jada publicly labeling them as false and Will issuing statements rejecting the claims.
That detail only added more fuel to the speculation already building around the story.
What made the situation even more striking was Bilal's reported claim that he had photographic proof. According to reports, he handed that material over to Tasha K before the interview had even begun. Whether anything from that supposed evidence was ever actually made public is still unclear, and that unanswered question has lingered over the story ever since. What is known is this: the Smiths responded by threatening legal action, and after that, everything seemed to go silent. Publicly, at least, the matter appeared to stall. No verified proof emerged, and the accusations remained exactly what they were: unconfirmed claims, surrounded by rumor, speculation, and a lot of unanswered questions. For a while, the story seemed to fade into the background. Nothing was resolved in a way the public could clearly see, and no major new development appeared to push it forward. Still, the allegations never fully disappeared. Instead, they stayed dormant online, waiting for the next moment that might pull them back into the spotlight. Now, with renewed attention following Diddy's arrest and sentence, those old claims have started circulating again. Online communities, fans, and self-described internet investigators have been revisiting past interviews, archived clips, and scattered reports, trying to piece together what they think might have been overlooked. As often happens in situations like this, speculation has filled the space where clear answers are missing. In Will Smith's case, many of those conversations seem to circle back to one moment more than any other: the Red Table Talk. For a lot of viewers, that was the first time the polished public image cracked just enough for people to feel like they were seeing something more personal underneath.
Jada allegedly escalated the response by issuing cease and desist letters and warning of legal action against Bailal, while Will himself never directly threatened to sue, an omission that sparked further speculation. Despite the public threats of legal consequences, no lawsuit against Bailal was ultimately filed at that time.
It gave the audience a rare look at tension, vulnerability, and unresolved issues that had mostly stayed behind closed doors. Since then, every old rumor has been viewed through a different lens. Moments that once seemed isolated are now being re-examined as part of a bigger narrative, whether fairly or not. That is why these past allegations, despite never being verified, have found new life in the current wave of public curiosity. At this stage, the central facts have not changed. Bilal reportedly made the claims. He allegedly said he had evidence. Legal threats followed. Then came silence. Everything beyond that remains uncertain. And much of the discussion now is being driven not by confirmed information, but by people trying to connect fragments of a story that was never fully addressed in public. That unresolved tension is exactly what keeps drawing people back. The combination of private accusations, missing proof, legal pressure, and years of silence has turned this into one of those stories that refuses to fully disappear. And because so much of it still lives in the gray area between allegation and evidence, the public fascination only seems to grow.
Of course, Will Smith's team is hitting back hard against these claims. His rep told Page 6 that the whole thing is completely false and fabricated. But you know what they say: where there's smoke, there's usually fire.
What looked like a solid marriage between Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith later seemed far more complicated than many people believed. During that now famous sit-down, the couple spoke openly about the nature of their relationship and touched on several topics that immediately stirred public reaction. Still, the conversation did not appear out of nowhere. It wasn't simply a decision to grab attention or suddenly share private details with the world. The real pressure came after August Alsina spoke publicly, putting the situation into the spotlight. Once that happened, Jada addressed what she described as an entanglement. That label quickly became one of the most talked about parts of the story. However, from August's perspective, this was not some vague or casual connection. His version painted something much deeper and much more serious.
Even Will Smith seemed to push back on the softer wording during the Red Table Talk conversation. The way this situation was discussed made it clear that what happened between Jada and August was being viewed by many as an actual relationship, not just a passing involvement. August had said he gave himself fully to Jada, and he also claimed he did so after allegedly receiving Will Smith's approval. That detail alone added another layer of shock and made the entire story even harder for the public to ignore. Naturally, once all of this became public, opinions started flying in from every direction. Viewers, commentators, and critics all had something to say. Yet among the many reactions, one response stood out more sharply than the rest. D.L. Hughley did not dance around the issue or soften his words. He directly criticized Jada and framed the situation in a deeply unfavorable light. His argument centered on the imbalance between them. August was much younger than Jada, and on top of that, he had a close connection to the family through Jaden Smith. That alone made the situation uncomfortable for many observers. D.L. Hughley went even further, suggesting that Jada became involved with August at a point when he was going through an especially painful and emotionally difficult time in his life.
I got into a different kind of entanglement with August.
An entanglement?
Yes. Yes.
A relationship?
Yes, it was a relationship, absolutely. The only person that could give permission in that particular circumstance is myself.
Yes.
That accusation changed the tone of the public discussion because it shifted attention away from celebrity gossip and toward questions about timing, vulnerability, and influence. There was also another detail that made the entire story feel even more personal. At that point, August Alsina was not some distant figure orbiting the family from afar. He was reportedly spending a great deal of time around the Smiths and was practically living with them during that period. His connection to the household was not random. He had been introduced through Jaden, which made the relationship seem even more complicated in the eyes of the public.
That context is a huge reason why the story landed so heavily. This wasn't just about two famous people making headlines. It involved family proximity, emotional vulnerability, and a bond that many believed crossed lines in ways that were hard to overlook. Once those pieces came together, the entanglement label started sounding less like an explanation and more like an attempt to minimize something far more serious. Public reaction only intensified because every new detail made the situation feel messier. The image many people had of Will and Jada's marriage began to crack, and what once appeared polished and private suddenly looked tangled, layered, and deeply unconventional. For some, the transparency was refreshing. For others, it only confirmed long-running suspicions that the public had never been seeing the full truth. What made the entire episode so unforgettable was the contrast between how it was first described and how it was later understood. Jada's wording suggested something murky and undefined. August's account suggested commitment, emotion, and seriousness. Will's reaction seemed to signal that even he did not fully accept the softer version of events, and voices like D.L. Hughley's turned that tension into a much harsher public judgment.
I actually sat down with Will and had a conversation due to the transformation from their marriage to life partnership that they've spoken on several times.
By that point, the story had grown beyond a private matter. It had become a major pop culture moment, fueled by conflicting narratives and uncomfortable questions. The closer people looked, the less simple it seemed. At the center of it all was a relationship that many felt had been framed one way publicly, while carrying a very different weight behind the scenes. And once August Alsina spoke, there was no keeping it quiet anymore.
D.L. Hughley suggested that August was in a deeply fragile place, both physically and emotionally during that period, to the point where he was struggling with thoughts of ending his life. From that perspective, this situation appears far more serious than a simple affair. Looking at it through that lens, many people feel Jada may have taken advantage of someone who was already vulnerable. If the roles had been reversed, the public reaction likely would have been far more intense, and it probably would not have been dismissed with a softer label like entanglement. At the time, August was not in a stable emotional condition. Even so, much of the public did not seem to grasp how serious his state of mind really was. Instead, many rushed to blame him, painting him as the person who disrupted a marriage and labeling him with harsh names. That became the easy narrative. Once you take a closer look at what August had already lived through, however, the story starts to look very different. In 2020, August released a documentary series called The Rise of August Alsina. Throughout that project, he opened up about painful experiences from his early years. He shared that while still very young, he endured physical trauma involving someone who was said to be a close friend of his family. That revelation alone added an entirely different layer to how people understood his emotional struggles later in life. Hoping to find comfort and protection, August chose to tell his mother, Sheila Blair, about what had happened. He believed he could trust her with something so personal and painful, expecting that the conversation would remain private. Instead, according to his account, that deeply sensitive information was passed along to people in their neighborhood. For someone already carrying that kind of pain, a betrayal like that could only make the emotional damage worse.
By the time we got to 2016, we were just exhausted with trying. I think we were both kind of still stuck in our fantasy of what we thought the other person should be.
By that point, it was already clear that August had been dealing with heavy personal wounds long before the public ever heard about his connection to Jada. When that background is taken into account, it becomes much harder to reduce the situation to gossip or scandal alone. What many dismissed as celebrity drama may have involved someone who was already carrying trauma, emotional exhaustion, and serious personal struggles behind the scenes. Trouble in Jaden's personal life may have started much earlier than most people realized. Reports have suggested he was dealing with deep emotional issues, and some sources even claim Jada may have taken advantage of that vulnerability. Those same claims say the situation contributed to the breakdown of Jaden's friendship with August. From there, the fallout allegedly grew even bigger, with some reports pointing to that period as part of the reason Jaden no longer has a close relationship with his mother. Put in Gen Z language, people would call it a very understandable crash out. Except this wasn't just a brief emotional moment. According to reports, everything that followed pushed Jaden further away from his family and deeper into trying to build a life on his own terms. That search for freedom allegedly came with reckless choices, including substance use and other behavior that raised concern. What may have started as rebellion, though, now seems like it could have spiraled into something far more serious. A recent appearance only added more fuel to that conversation. Jaden showed up on the red carpet at the Could Have Been Love season premiere, and at first glance, nothing seemed unusual. He looked calm, composed, and completely put together. On the surface, it was a standard celebrity appearance, yet the mood shifted the moment a reporter tried to ask him about his new Christian Louboutin collection. Instead of answering, Jaden simply walked off. No explanation, no follow-up, just silence and an abrupt exit.
I see that you're working with Jaden Smith to design Yeezy footwear with Ye. What are y'all cooking up?
Naturally, that instantly got people talking. Moments like that always invite speculation, especially when someone already has a complicated public image. Was he irritated? Distracted? Overwhelmed? Nobody knows for sure because he gave the press absolutely nothing to work with. The question was left hanging, and so was the audience. To understand why this moment stood out, you have to look at the tension that has followed Jaden in recent years. One major example was his conflict with Ye after the 2022 Yeezy Season 9 fashion show. That event sparked widespread backlash because Kanye unveiled the White Lives Matter shirts, and Jaden made it clear he wanted no part of it. He took to Twitter and spoke at length about how strongly he disagreed. His message was blunt. He didn't care who was behind it. If he didn't support the message, he was leaving. From one angle, that reaction also looked like a valid crash out. At the very least, it showed he was willing to publicly distance himself from something he found unacceptable, even if it meant calling out one of the biggest names in fashion and music. It was emotional, direct, and impossible to ignore. Jaden wasn't trying to soften his position or stay neutral.
He made sure people knew exactly where he stood. Still, that history doesn't fully answer the bigger question. Being outspoken online is one thing. Walking away from the press without a word is another. And neither of those things really explains why he was in Paris acting in a way that had people seriously concerned. That's where the mystery deepens. On the outside, Jaden often presents himself as polished and controlled. He knows how to dress the part, show up at major events, and move through elite fashion spaces like he belongs there. Yet every now and then, a moment slips through that suggests there may be much more going on behind the scenes.
Why do Will Smith's 3 kids all seem a little unhinged? Will Smith, one of the richest actors in Hollywood, built a $350 million legacy for his children, but none of them seem happy. In fact, they often come off as emotionally unstable. 1. Jaden Smith is known for acting bizarre in public. Since he was 16, he's claimed to be a prophet from the future.
Those flashes are what keep the rumors alive.
Public appearances can be deceiving. A red carpet smile doesn't mean someone is doing well. Designer clothes don't erase tension. Looking normal for cameras can hide a lot. In Jaden's case, that contrast may be exactly why so many people are paying attention right now. He appears fine one second, then suddenly shuts down the next. That kind of switch leaves people searching for a reason. Some tie it back to family drama. Others think it reflects the pressure of trying to grow up under constant scrutiny. There are also those who believe it could be connected to the personal struggles he has reportedly faced while trying to separate himself from his parents and carve out his own identity. Whatever the cause, the pattern has become hard to ignore. What makes all of this even more compelling is how unfinished the story feels. There's no clear statement, no direct explanation, and no easy conclusion. Just a series of incidents that, when placed next to each other, paint a picture of someone who may be dealing with far more than the public can see. For now, all anyone can really do is watch the pieces as they surface. The red carpet walk-off, the old feud with Ye, the reported family distance, the questions about his behavior. They all add to a story that feels like it's still unfolding in real time. And if that's true, then what we've seen so far may only be the beginning. People first started side-eyeing Jaden over moments like the hail clip, where he seemed completely stunned by something most people would treat as ordinary. Pair that with several other very public meltdowns people say they've watched from him over the years, and the conversation around his personal life has only grown louder. For a long time, online speculation has followed his mental health, along with rumors tied to substance use and even alarming claims about self-harm. None of that has ever stopped the internet from digging deeper. Now a fresh wave of gossip is pushing the story even further. New allegations suggesting he may have been secretly living on the DL have exploded across social media, turning an already messy situation into a full-blown online firestorm. Some people believe this is nothing more than street chatter, fueled by the long list of strange headlines and controversies that have surrounded him for years. Others think Orlando Brown may know more than the public realizes and could be pointing towards something bigger. At this stage, nothing has been verified, and that part matters. There is still no confirmation behind these claims, no matter how intense the online reaction has become. Even so, people aren't letting it go. Theories are spreading fast, opinions are getting stronger, and every old incident tied to Jaden is now being dragged back into the spotlight as viewers try to connect the dots for themselves. What makes this story so explosive is the combination of mystery, past behavior, and the fact that every new rumor seems to reignite older concerns. Once the internet locks onto a narrative, it can be nearly impossible to slow it down. That appears to be exactly what is happening here. A single claim turns into a debate, the debate becomes a trend, and suddenly everyone has something to say. For now, all anyone can really do is watch how this develops and separate confirmed facts from pure speculation. Still, the buzz around this situation is impossible to ignore, and people clearly have strong feelings about where the truth may lead. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let everyone know where you stand on this situation. If you want more coverage on stories like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.